Hey there, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways that we can become better anglers and stewards of this fishery, whether you're out fishing in the ocean, the lower bay, or its tributaries. We also ask that every angler do their part in sustainable fishing practices, keeping this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come. Spring is here, and the water in the bite is warming up. So let us take a minute and hear who's bringing us this week's show, and then we're going to jump into the report and find out what's going on. Whether you're hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano, or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fish Bites has something for you. They're family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, and pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fish Bites bait and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State, USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit shorelineplastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For cool mornings, I love my Reaper sweatshirt. And on those hot days, my Samurai sun shirt. You just can't beat the quality and performance. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, guys, we are actually joining live right now from Heads and Tails Charters inside the Lynnhaven River. We're just getting on the podcast, and they're out live on a charter right now. And I asked them what they're targeting, and no sooner had he said reds, and then he says, "Oh, Steve's hooked up." So, Eric, what do you think? Is it a decent sized fish?
Seems like it. It's definitely whooping Steve's butt. Oh yeah, that's nice. Oh yeah, nice fish.
You know,
Let's
this
see.
is how he talks to a 72-year-old man.
That's beautiful, Steve.
Nice
we got
fish.
23.
That's a
23?
yeah, it's a beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Look at that. And
Right in the corner of the mouth, Steve.
Hey, baby.
Beautiful catch.
you guys are in the Lynnhaven right now, and what kind of bait were you using for that redfish?
5 Menhaden.
Live menhaden. Okay. I assume you're catching a couple of those. Are they starting to show up in the creeks, the little teeny ones, or are you having to go out and look for them?
No, they're pretty nice this year. Every single one of them is about 5 inches.
Oh, that's perfect. Very cool. And who do you have on the boat with you? You said Steve. Did I hear you say you're 72 years young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my cousin's older than me.
Is that who's on the boat with you?
Uh-huh.
And what's your cousin's name?
David,
Steven, nice to
David.
meet you.
nice to meet you.
Awesome. So we got David and Steven. Excellent. Well, Eric, talk us through what depth you guys are fishing in, what the current's doing, and then what you got for terminal tackle down to that live menhaden.
Oh, fishing the last bit of the incoming. Using anything from 1.5 ounce weights, and then 40-pound leader to a 1 ounce egg weight in line with a circle hook.
Okay. And I know you've shown me that trick before, but it's kind of unique. Talk us through how you put that 1 ounce sinker in line to your hook. It's not the standard way, right?
No, I like to do the least amount of terminal tackle. So I just do a loop around, because like my charter just said there, Steve just said, because people lose them, but it's just wrapped around the weight one time through,
Uh-huh.
and then to a 3/0 circle hook through the nose.
Perfect. Yeah. And have you guys had bites with anything else besides a red drum right now, or is it just the reds biting?
I think we had a rockfish or a big blue a second ago when we were fishing Great Neck Bridge.
Okay. Those chopper blues, they ought to be moving in sometime soon, right?
Oh yeah, they're already biting redfish now.
Oh, was that you that posted that picture the other day?
Yeah.
So how big was the redfish? And if you had to guess the bite, how many inches of that redfish did that single bite take off of the tail?
Uh, so we had 23 inches left of said redfish. I would assume probably two or three. Last bit of the tail.
And up into the meat a little bit, right?
Yeah, and then up into the meat. A good 3 inches.
Goodness gracious. Is
Yeah.
that a is that one of your custom rods or is that one of the new setups with the Daiwas that you got from Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle?
This is one of the new setups with the Daiwas.
Nice. So did did they just start carrying that just for you? Did you put in a special request? Because I know Brady and Connie just recently brought those Daiwas in. Um, what do you like about those Daiwa series reels that so much so that you put them into the whole fleet?
Um, it's just the price point of them really, and their servicing. They got a little bit easier service center.
Mm, okay,
Servicing for charters, so I can send them back at the end of the year and get them all redone at once.
nice.
Com- Compared to like the Shimano, those Nazis, they were only lasting 2, 3 months at a time
Oh
before a
wow,
bearing was removed.
gotcha. Yeah, that's important, obviously, as you guys use them a lot. And then what size main line did you put on those? And remind me, what size reel is that you've got on those rods?
So I got the 2500 and the 3000s. The
Okay,
3000's got 30-pound braid, and the 2500's got 15 pound.
okay, got it. For that extra castability.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you're
because
probably
those ones are
fishing
more rigged for like casting
trout.
jigs and trout
Yeah,
fishing, artificials, top waters.
got it. Okay.
Like big bass.
And then what size rod are you guys fishing right now? Are those custom rods that you had made?
Yeah, these are from Richard Wasden from Real Blessed.
Very cool. Yeah, he
Uh,
makes a great
seven
product, doesn't
foot.
he?
Yeah, they're 7 foot medium heavy.
Very cool. 7 foot, medium heavy. And is that with the 3000 that you've got right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Recently celebrating 100 years of history, Tahatsu is Japan's oldest outboard manufacturer, producing high-quality durable outboard motors since 1956. Tahatsu America Corporation is the U.S. and Canadian distributor of Tahatsu outboards, offering a full line of four-stroke motors ranging from 2.5 horsepower to 250 horsepower, and the recently introduced Alaris 6 kilowatt electric outboard. Tahatsu America is a recipient of the NMMA's Customer Satisfaction Index, or CSI, award for the seventh consecutive year. Tahatsu is uncompromising in its pursuit of outboard motors that are both durable and as light as possible. See it, hear it, feel the wind. And going back to that mainline, attachment to your 40 pound, are you using 40-pound mono or fluoro?
Mono. I don't like using fluoro.
Okay. I guess the water in there is starting to get some color to it, so it's not that big of a deal fishing down on the bottom. But I remember using that setup. Do you have issues if I were to use, say, like 20-pound line, wouldn't I have an issue with that sinker kind of sliding up and down that leader material? Does it kind of need to be 40
It'll,
pound leader and for
the,
it to
the
stay
way I
put?
rig it needs to be 40 pounds so you don't lose any of your tensile strength.
Got it. Okay. So you
Because
basically come
when you go around the weight, it creates a 90-degree angle.
right. So you're using a 1 ounce egg sinker. You're bringing that leader material down through it. You're making a loop down through it again, and then that kind of cinches it and holds it in place, what, 10, 12 inches above your hook?
Well, that's the nice thing is you can move it around.
Okay. So if they're biting closer to the bottom or if they're just a few inches up off the bottom, you can kind of play around with it to get the quote unquote ideal target strike range for the bait to be hovering in.
Yeah, you don't want your bait to outrun your fish.
Got it. Yeah. Talk us through a bite from a redfish. I mean, it's been a while since I've been out there with you, but is it really significant? Like you know that you're hooked up, or do you have to really pay close attention and kind of come tight at just the right time?
Steve, how would you say that bite was a second ago?
It was a soft fight.
That was a soft bite. So each fish is completely different.
So
Um,
did you have to start
sometimes,
coming? Did you have to start coming tight before you realized you were hooked?
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a
Okay.
bite as it was coming.
Yeah, it started biting as he was coming up.
Got it.
Uh,
Steve, I see you're wearing a not, it looks like not working shirt,
Uh-huh.
not work.
That's because
Is that
I'm retired. No, yeah,
okay?
this was the name of the boat I fished with in Guatemala in
Very cool.
October.
Very cool.
But I'm also not working. I'm unemployable.
You're unemployable. I like that. For all of us young guys that dream of being retired and fishing all the time one day, does that dream really come true? Do you just fish all the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he
My
does.
only problem is I don't have enough people to hang out with.
It's because you're living. You're going to live forever. That's why.
No, I don't know about that. I'm just living as good as I can. I'm trying to bring others around me to do that.
There you go. I like that. Well, you guys
Right.
are have been alive for a long time. Any words of wisdom for us young fishermen? If you could go back and be 20 or 30 again, what wise words would you tell us?
I don't have any wise words. I like to be 20 again.
Retire young. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Retire young. It's not worth it.
He's on again.
Oh
Look
my
at that.
goodness.
What are you
You're just
doing
living
on-
the dream right now, Steve.
Yeah.
Don't pull on it.
Well, you got to have a good captain. Eric's a great captain. And
Yep.
so he's able to, so I own my own
Oh,
Mako and
dang.
stuff, but I'd much rather fish here
Yep.
with him.
Mm-hmm. What kind of Mako do you have, Steve?
He had one too. It was swimming up current.
No.
Oh no, did he get off?
My cousin is newer in the fishing game,
There you go. You got another one.
but he's learning.
No, Dave, let me get you anything.
Well, if it's any, proof is in the pudding. We're like 12 minutes into recording and we've got already 2 red drum in the boat.
Guys, you're right. See, that baby is dead. Yeah. Okay, you don't want that.
I worked 45 years so I could fish.
That's awesome.
Next time I'll tell people to work 25.
What line of work were you guys in your 45 years?
I practice relationships. I did dentistry.
Okay, very cool. So you were a DDS, and then what about you, Steve?
And I used to own Grand Furniture.
No way.
Yeah, way. So my brother brought me out and I retired.
Very
It was
cool.
a hard decision, but I made it in about 3 seconds.
All right, so you've been in the furniture business, and I'm dying to know. Does the dump really go out of business? Does Haynes really go out of business every single time?
Are you kidding me? No, no. It's a sale. Everyone does their thing that they try to make sales.
That's
And the dump is but the dump is based on buying closeouts from factories. When there were a lot of closeouts, or when there's a lot of closeouts, they make good buys because factories need to unload of their inventory.
right.
But I wouldn't do that today.
Are you from here?
Mhm.
Yes, sir. I'm from the area.
You ever hear of Conocoff Dentistry?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
That's him.
Very
That's the man who
cool.
make the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend. Who hasn't heard of Conocoff Dentistry? I could probably spell it Konn, and then that's as far as I get. Koni. See
What kind of cough do you have?
what kind
What kind of cough do you have?
what kind of cough do I have?
Well, one of them was his brother. One brother was another dentist in Norfolk, and his other brother was a periodontist.
Man,
Did I say that right, David? Yes. Thank you. I'm done.
upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture, built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Doc. Check out the full collection at killerdoc.com today. All right. Well, I know people tuning in weren't expecting to get, dental advice or furniture purchasing advice, but now we're here. So I got to know what are we doing what should we be doing in our dental care that we're probably not doing enough?
Floss your teeth every day.
And
Floss.
I like to use 6-pound test.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's salt.
Right?
That's funny. That would be a great little thing to see in your next dental visit. your dentist pulls out a spool of 6 pound mono to start doing your flossing. That would be pretty priceless.
You actually, braid works better.
Braid does, yeah, I can see how braid would certainly work a lot better. Well, Eric, you are certainly in fine company fishing today, and you guys have picked a beautiful bluebird day to be out pulling on some
Yeah.
redfish in the Lynnhaven. Um, Eric, talk us through, do you pick this time of day based on these guys' availability, which I'm thinking is wide open, white space on their calendars, or was this strategic because of a certain tide that you prefer?
It helps that the tide's right now, but
Uh-huh.
unlike these guys, I have a day job too, so I just come after work.
Got it. Okay. So you like that little bit of incoming.
Yeah, a little bit of incoming. Pretty much the end of pretty much any tide. It could be
Got it.
dead low, and you just move over to some of the deeper docks.
Okay.
You can hammer on fish all afternoon.
Yep. And I know I talked to my buddy Luke Burnham, him and Chase and a few others have been, out there a lot in the skiff, chasing around some redfish. And you put him on a good bite on Sunday. Is there, in your opinion, like, is the bait moving in? Like, what's causing the reds to be a little more available right now?
Can you see that?
Yeah. So for those that are listening, we're looking at the chart plotter now is this side scan?
That's side scan. That's all redfish on the bottom.
Oh my
All that.
goodness.
You don't even tell me. Let me see.
That's
So,
all redfish.
Is that
Just went
ocean
through.
side or is that?
Yeah, that's it. Out the side.
okay. So when looking at your side scan, what depth were we in right there?
We were 15 feet, and that was 25 to 50 feet away from the boat. That was a whole school of puppy drum.
Okay. Got it.
So that was a massive load of fish coming in the inlet.
Got it. So
These
it's just
fish-
a
these fish this
biomass
time of
moving.
year, they're moving. Yeah, they're moving in, and they're typically on the skinnier side.
Okay. And are they coming and chasing bait, water temperature? What's causing them to come in?
Water temperature. These are
Okay.
some of the fish that are coming from up the beach
Got it.
that are, could have been from Rudy.
Hmm.
Escape from Wood.
Yeah, escaped from Rudy without getting caught.
Yeah.
Um,
There was quite a massacre going on in there for a little while recently, wasn't there?
oh yeah, it was silly.
Yeah.
I even took Steve out there.
That's what I think
It's the closest I've been to ice fishing in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, it just happened to be like 30 degrees.
Eric even brought his auger.
Yeah.
Oh man, that reminds me of a time back in 2009. I did go ice fishing in Virginia Beach unintentionally. I don't know if you ever heard of the pond called Black Gut down near Sandbridge, but there's some big bass
Yeah.
in there, and you have to hike through the woods with your kayak and then paddle out this little ditch. And the entire thing was frozen over, and only a small section was still available to fish in. So
Wow.
picture in Virginia Beach walking across a frozen pond, dragging your
You
kayak.
actually walked it, huh? I thought you'd have to ice break it.
Oh no, it was as thick as could be. You
That's
could
cool.
walk it, no problem. It was very
And you caught a bass?
we did not catch a single thing.
Oh, that's rough.
Yep, yep. So me and a couple of my buddies back in the day when we were ate up with kayak fishing.
That was before you had a boat?
Yeah, that was, there's stages of fishing and boat ownership. Several listening might have a similar story where you start with a kayak, you work your way up into a john boat, your john boat turns into a little, fish and ski or a little fiberglass boat, and then that turns into your bigger bay boat. So, Eric, back to your chart plotter for a second. You were showing us 15 to 20 or 15 feet deep, 25 to 50 feet out to the side. What else are you looking at? Temperature? Is there any other things that you're looking at in order to get located, or are you just kind of picking spots at random that?
Well, this is just a big trough. A lot of the guys trout fish over here in the fall.
Okay.
But when the redfish come in, they start hitting all these docks. They'll sit on a dock for a day or two. And then we just happened to mark them 2 days ago in here.
Mhm.
The big screw. And it's just been come over here with live bait. We catch a few on jigs, but you got to use such a heavy weight that it's almost not enjoyable.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question: is if you'd had any success with a artificial lure, but it sounds like doesn't really compare. Okay, what are we at there? 1/2 ounce jig head with a
1 ounce big head with
1 ounce.
a 5-inch Z-Man paddler.
Okay. And are you using a Procure gel on that or just fishing it naked?
Just fishing it naked.
Okay.
These fish are hungry
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah. And I know those guys are a little older. Hopefully they didn't hear us suggest to go fishing naked. We were talking about the lure, fishing the lure naked. So please,
It
please
wouldn't bother me when Eric goes naked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not warm enough yet for that. Um, I'm hoping we're going to see another fish bite happen while we're recording here. Maybe a surprise species like a striper.
Got Eric, his blood's boiling right now. Getting ready to make
Yeah. He got mangled.
He did.
He got
So
swung and missed.
that that live bait, Eric, will a puppy drum eat a dead bait, or does it really need to be alive in order to incite a strike right now?
I like using live when I can.
Okay,
When the water's super, 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 super muddy, then I'll use cut bait.
gotcha.
But anytime you're out here, any of these main creek docks, honestly, you can, as long as it's moving, it's better than sitting there with dead bait usually.
Gotcha. And where you're at right now is basically what, like kind of near the porch on the Lynnhaven?
Right across from the porch, basically.
Got it. Okay. Planning your next saltwater adventure? Whether you're nearshore, coastal, or offshore, the right safety gear is just as essential as your tackle. A reliable life raft from survivalatsea.com keeps you prepared because weather changes fast and emergencies happen when you least expect them. Survivalatsea.com offers top-rated life rafts built for any adventure, from bay waters to the open ocean. Right now, get $50 off any new life raft with code GDO50 at checkout. Stay safe, stay prepared. Visit survivalatsea.com today and fish with confidence. So there's fish everywhere up in there. It's just a matter of getting the right bait and getting the right terminal tackle so you can get it down into that strike zone. At any point when the tide is moving, do you have to go heavier than 1 ounce?
I try not to.
Okay, got it.
spot.
I'm gonna scooch this up and move forward a little bit.
Well, man, this has been fun to come on live and watch a couple fish get caught and get to meet Steve of Grand Furniture and David of Konikoff Dentistry. Any other words for us, guys, before we wrap up?
Go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, go fishing more.
Go
Call it
fishing.
there.
Yeah,
Go.
This can't have my day.
yeah.
All right. I would like to get this question answered from each of you before we go. What's one of your favorite, fish stories of all time? Favorite fish memory of all time?
Eric, you asked your question.
Who, me or them?
No, them. We get to hear
Ah.
your fish stories all the time, but they've got so many more fish. They've got so many more stories in the Rolodex to choose from.
I'd probably say 3/4 of mine are with them.
With Eric, I was going to say with Eric, I caught some cobia and tuna. It was amazing.
Oh, did you happen to get one of those bluefin or was it yellowfin?
Skipjacks when we're around the windmill bases.
Oh, that's fun. Was that on light tackle?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, little trout rods.
That's got to be exciting. That's probably the most fun you can have on light tackles. One of those little skipjacks going 100 miles an hour down there.
Coming in eating a live bait with just a circle looking at.
Oh, that's awesome.
For anybody that's just fishing, just learning to fish, you want to get Eric to go ahead and take you out because he really helps you.
Yes, he does. Yep, he's a great teacher. I'd recommend him for all ages. I know he's taken my buddy's teenage son out several times, and he's the better for it, learning a little bit more about tackle selection, tying knots, etc. Steve, what about you? What's one of your favorite fishing memories with Eric?
Oh, with Eric. Oh, now you got to put with Eric. I don't have good ones with him, but when I do, I tell you, I had an RV down in the Keys, and he and his fiance. By the way, Eric's getting married this weekend.
I know.
And he is. We went out fishing with my captain that I know down in Alamorada, and I watched. I caught about a 12, 15-pound Goliath grouper on light tackle, so I was happy and done. But Eric wanted a bigger one, so he caught and released about a 50-pounder.
Wow!
And then I got to see him hook about a 250-pound fish, and I watched him turn as red as the sun. I thought he was going to blow up. But it
What
was,
did it eat though?
huh?
What did it eat though?
What didn't he eat?
It ate a shark.
Yeah, he ate a he ate a shark that we were reeling in.
No
That's how we
way.
knew it was a big one. But it
Oh.
was a great, I mean, Eric just fought that thing. It was a true man to man.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric actually won that time.
On a tarpon spinning rod.
Yeah, we
Mercy.
weren't Goliath grouper fishing down there. We had the biggest rod that we had that day. And it was very cool.
That is very
And,
cool.
and
That is very,
anyway,
very cool. Well, thank you guys thanks for sharing those stories. That was great. Oh, we've got a bitten in half menhaden. That's what, a baby bluefish?
Yeah, it's a little blue.
Yep, there we go. Well, the guys in the background obviously know how to book you, but for those that are listening, if they want to get up with heads and tails and book a charter, Captain Merrick, what's the best way for them to contact you and get booked?
Oh, you can either call or text me, or you can go to my Valley Pro account.
Perfect, and we'll drop that Valley Pro website in the show notes. And what's that phone number?
It is 757-573-9569.
Awesome. Well, Captain Merrick and Dave and Steve, thank you so much for letting me steal a little bit of time and get a live report of what's going on in Lynnhaven. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be in touch with you soon, Captain Merrick.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Folks, stick around for a word from some of our great local sponsors that take care of making the show and it's content free for you each week, and we'll be right back with you real soon. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. All right, well, let's catch up with someone up from the middle part of the bay on the other side of the, well, I guess we'd call it what? Just north of Hampton, Newport News, Yorktown area. Captain Colton North. Welcome back to the show, man. How we doing?
Good, Luke. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. So what has Litigator Sport Fishing been up to the last couple of weeks?
We have been catching a whole heck of a lot of big and little redfish. We've been doing a little bit of tog fishing up by the bridge tunnel and on some of the reefs, and finishing up some boat work, unexpected and expected.
Well, let's start with the non-quote unquote fun stuff, the boat work. What's going on with the boat? And I should ask which boat in particular, because I know you've got a couple different ones. For those that are tuning in and hearing your voice for the first time, run us through the fleet and then talk to us about which boat has got some work going on.
Yeah, I've got a 24 Privateer, a 26 Intrepid. They're both my bay boats, and then we own a 36 Express as well. 36 Express, less so for charter fishing. It's actually listed for sale right now if anyone wants a 36-foot Jersey Cape Devil. It's a great boat, but I don't use it enough, and it causes me a lot of headaches when I'm busy fishing on the other boats, and I still got to keep up with that one. But that one's down in Carolina right now in the Outer Banks, and doing some offshore fishing on that, having some fun, but sprung an oil leak, so I had to go down there and diagnose exactly where it was coming from and fix a oil return line. Not a huge deal, not the end of the world, but got it done today. And then I've been did so many trips in April fishing for those big reds and little reds and togs that I was already due for one of my 100-hour services. So I went ahead and knocked that out on the Intrepid on Saturday and got it back in the water. I think we hauled it up Friday night, serviced it Saturday morning, and we fished Saturday afternoon. So
oh my goodness,
kind of turn and burn around here right now.
That's wild to think that it is the first week in May and you've already done a 100-hour service on the Intrepid. And you got what, twin 200s on the back of that thing?
Yes, sir.
Man. And that, I mean, that's
and
just
I actually pushed it over. It was about 130-hour service in just under a month.
Well, all the Yamaha techs listening, just cover your ears. I personally, I don't pay I pay attention, but I probably find myself in that 115 to 120 hour range more often than not before I get, on the trailer and get back and get serviced. I think, a lot of Yamaha service is more about preventative care than actual like required to do it at this exact hour interval or else. So as long as you're doing it consistently, I think
For
that's the
sure.
key. And plus, a lot of that stuff is set to be like annual maintenance items, which again, most folks don't put nearly the hours that a charter guide like yourself puts on their boat. But still, good on you because I'm sure you could go find some boats out there in other places that are in that 200, 300 hour range and just not getting the service they need because, not everybody takes that much care. But you mentioned some tog fishing and a little bit of offshore fishing. Why don't we start out and work in? Talk to us about the last offshore trip that you took.
Yeah, last offshore trip was great, minus finding out that I had a catastrophic oil leak, which was just a bit of a pucker factor. Luckily, we got some oil from a guy out on the water when I ran out of my own oil. I usually keep 4 or 5 gallons on the boat, and believe it or not, I went through all that and
Wow.
some. But made back to the dock fine. Engine ran great, no issues. Just needed to figure out what was leaking, what was causing it, and get it fixed. Luckily, we didn't find that out until on our way in. But before that, when we were fishing, we went, I think, 4 for 6 on yellowfins, or 4 for 7. We had a couple pull the hook off right behind the boat. Caught some nice yellowfins up to 60 pounds. Went 1 for 3 on gaffer dolphins when we got wolf packed and had 3 of them come in, and we were tight to all 3. But due to some flipping instead of gaffing error and due to some jumps, we lost 2 of them. And then we actually got lucky while we were untangling some lines, and I was trolling around at like 2.5 knots and had a sailfish come up and smoke our short rigger. So we released the sail, caught a gaffer, and killed almost a half a dozen nice yellowfins.
Wow, that is an epic trip. I mean, that's quite the trifecta. I mean, you don't see, were you expecting to see a sailfish in that area, or was that a complete surprise?
I wasn't expecting it. When I go fishing, I'm mostly focused on tunas, but there was a little grass line around, and we had just had a triple header of dolphins. And whenever you find dolphins, there's a pretty good chance you'll run into some billfish.
Yeah.
So not a total shot in the dark. It is spring down there. Billfish are starting to show up, but
Right.
definitely luck was on my side for that one.
Yeah, and what's the connection between billfish and mahi? Is that a desirable food source for them, or is it just that they both kind of like the same water temperature or follow the same bait?
They like the same areas. They're in the same areas, and they're prey for most billfish. I'd think every single billfish species there is, except for maybe a swordfish, but even they probably eat them at night. Eat a dolphin. So you're in the right area. If you got one around, you probably got the other around. Water temperature wise, food source wise, etc.
Yeah, and I mean, of all the fish in the ocean, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but it does sound funny. I mean, a mahi is probably the most tasty looking of all the fish out there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they look like candy swimming through the water, all lit up, yellow, bright blue dots. They might as well have a sign that says, open or hot and
Eat me.
fresh. Come eat me now. So,
Yeah.
that's funny. What were you trolling? I mean, obviously trolling so talk me through your yellowfin spread. You said you had your yellowfin spread out, and that's when the sailfish hit?
Yeah, we're just pulling a bunch of different color sea witches, basic lures. Your most common offshore trolling bait there is just a little jig with hair around it, trolling a ballyhoo. We were pulling a bunch of sea witches, a couple daisy chains, and that day we actually had a planer rod as well. The planer rod was getting smoked.
And the planer rod meaning?
Planer rod's like same deal as if you're Spanish mackerel fishing in the Chesapeake Bay. You've got, you've got your whatever number planer it may be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's taking your bait down, and you've got a reel with braid on it, and then you've got a, call it 60 to 80 foot mono or fluorocarbon leader coming off of that going to a sea witch. So it's basically just a rod that you're fishing 20, 30, 40, 50 feet down instead of right on the surface like your other baits.
And that was the one that was getting hit the most?
I think we got 3 out of our 7 bites on that. So it was doing pretty good.
Interesting. Okay. And that was on yellowfin, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Got it. Very cool. Sam Rust Seafood, your locally trusted source for premium wholesale seafood. Servicing customers from Hampton Roads down through the Outer Banks, Richmond, and surrounding areas, including Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Lynchburg for over 80 years. Committed to the highest standards in the industry, Sam Rust distributes the best of the ocean directly to your restaurant, hotel, or grocery store on time and at a great price. Visit samrust.com to discover how quality, tradition, and sustainability come together. So don't cuss, call Sam Rust. And about how far out did you have to go? I mean, when you were prepping for that trip, were you, basing it off of some, networked local knowledge, or were you looking at a sea surface temp chart and picking a spot? What led into your decision making for getting located?
I was definitely going based off of reports from days before, just figuring out where that water was and what was holding where. And it
Hmm.
wasn't a really great day of fishing. It was actually really slow. We got lucky and found some good marks in a certain area way overboard and about 2,000 feet of water, and kind of had it to ourselves for a couple hours. And I just made the call to keep working that area and got the bites we wanted. Definitely could have loved more, but can't complain about, getting a half a dozen bites, especially on tunas, and
Hmm.
can't complain. It worked out good.
Good. And I want to go back to those Mahi for a second. You breezed through it quickly, but you said something about catching air and they were doing a flip. Does that mean that the gaff, basically, we missed the gaff shot to get those things in the boat?
We we had three hooked up. One of them tried to be boat flipped, and it shook off the boat and shook off the hook, hit the side of the boat, flopped in the water.
Oh,
Second one started doing crazy backflips and jumping around 20 feet behind the boat, and it shook the hook, and then we landed the last one when we gaffed it.
okay. So still got one. Mahi's great eating,
Yeah,
man. That's
got
probably
one for three.
count it. Uh,
One for three, not great odds, but happy to have them.
well, if they were gaffers, I mean, that's a what, 10 to 15 pound Mahi somewhere in there.
Yeah, they're 10, 12, 15 pounds. They're a nice little fish.
Yeah, and I mean a 12-pound mahi is strong and can pull and is fast. So to your point, I mean, and I've been in a mahi blitz. I mean, they get off fairly easy if you're not, maintaining them correctly. And even then it's tough because they're so acrobatic and wild and crazy. So unless you've got that like perfect, circle hook, corner shot in the mouth, if it's anything other than a perfect hook set and they're doing all their tarpon, acrobatics, there's a good chance they can come off. So it's tough. I get it, but that's why you have those big long bamboo poles with the little, mahi gaff on the end because you get them within 10 feet of the boat, bam, stick them, get them in the boat.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
well, that's awesome, man. Glad to hear that you guys were able to, capitalize on a good bite down there and make it in safely. Having a mechanical issue out on the water is certainly never fun. What goes through your mind as a captain when you first find out that there's an issue? Does it what kind of clicks into gear for you when you find out you're dealing with a mechanical issue?
Really just do whatever I can to know I'll make it in safely, whether that means slowing down every hour or two and adding oil, making sure my levels are topped off, and anything to get you in safely at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also kind of speaks to, talking about pulling your boat out and doing regular maintenance. All those items, add up to you as a captain are very familiar with the, mechanics of your boat and the systems. And so even when there is an issue, someone like yourself kind of knows where to look to, troubleshoot and identify the issue versus, somebody that's never touched their boat or done their own maintenance and there's an issue, you're kind of a dead in the water, so to speak, until Cito comes to get you. So let's walk inshore a little bit and talk us through. You said you've been on a couple of tog trips. How's that been, and what have you guys been doing to be successful with your tog trips?
Yeah, sure. We've only gone twice. The first time was just, I've been hearing about how good it is, and I felt bad for missing out on the action. I've been messing around with a lot of drum and stuff, and just wanted to change it up a little bit. And I had a group of guys that wanted to take home some meat, so we ran out to the bridge tunnel. We bounced around, and that day, the first trip, we got a lot more lucky. The tide was just whatever it was about it. It was running, but not running too much, and they were chewing for us for a couple hours, and we just had a steady pick. And I think we killed our 4-man limit in right about an hour or two and released 20 or 30 shorts. Had a great time catching them. And then second time we went out, definitely a lot harder fishing, but still good. We fished for like 5 or 6 hours,
Hmm.
and the tide and the fish, whatever it may be, I'm no professional at it by any means, but they were not cooperating. And then the tide turned, and for I don't know, 30, 45 minutes, it was absolute mayhem. And we killed our 3-man limit of fish that day in no time. It was probably 20 minutes from when the fish started biting to when we had a 3-man limit, a nice,
Hmm.
17, 18, 19-inch keeper fish, and called it a day right after that because we were not about to fish another 5 hours with no bite.
Yeah, that's tough on the psyche when you feel like you're doing everything right. You know you're in a spot where fish should be. You know you got the right bait. and they're just not biting. I mean, how do you deal with that pressure as a charter guide, when it's not happening? Like where do you go mentally to not feel that pressure, you
I don't
know?
know if you really want the answer to that question. I don't know if I go anywhere mentally. I just try and keep moving around and keep trying to find a bite where there might be one. And I try not to waste my time in any one spot too long, especially if they're not cooperating or it gets real old real fast.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine, man. I mean, that's one of the things that I've always admired about every guide that we talk to on this show. You guys are obviously subject matter experts. You've put in the time, you know how to find fish, you know how to catch fish, but you don't control fish. And so some people maybe don't understand that. And it's like, I mean, I've definitely had those guys on my boat before. It's like, hey, Cap, where are these cobia at? I'm like, I don't. I don't have their, zip code. Like I can't just take you to them. We still have to find them. It's tough. So, I can't imagine that pressure when you've got, paying customers on board that maybe don't get out that often and their expectation levels are high and, all that comes together to a pretty big sweat when it's all on you to make it happen. But you guys somehow scratch it out every single time. That's the cool part, and that's why we talk to you guys on the show. Um, for those tog, you talked about the tide turning and then all of a sudden you got on that bite. How critical, I know on your Intrepid, you guys have a big trolling motor up on the front. Uh, how critical is that with the tog bite? Is that something you guys use religiously or is it not something you whip out too often?
I definitely would say it's pretty important. It saves you from having to use a rec anchor and constantly adjust. It gives me the ability to move spot to spot in a matter of seconds instead of a matter of minutes. Every time I go togging, I use it. I think it's a great tool. I couldn't say enough good things about it. As long as it's all working right, it's a great tool. And like I said, my two togging experiences this spring were a little different. One time, I couldn't really tell you the difference in what the tide was doing, but one time they chewed for hours and another time they just didn't. So having the flexibility to be able to make a move really quick and move, whether it be a different location on the bridge or the poles or the tube or the rocks, the islands themselves, or need to make a change to go to one of the reefs or something nearby. It makes a huge difference as far as speed.
Right, because you can just pull up and go versus having to, fuss with your anchor. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And, if somebody's listening and they're like, man, do I really spend, $5,000 plus another $1,000 in batteries plus another $200 for a charger? Do I really spend that for a trolling motor? Like, talk to that guy for a second. Like, how transformational is it?
Absolutely.
There's your answer.
You just send it. You just send it and do it because there's nothing that compares to it in the world.
Well, that's definitely great to hear. Which trolling motor make model do you use on your Intrepid?
Yeah, so I've got a Minn Kota Tarova. It's a few years old. I bought it used from another local charter captain, and I've got a 36-volt lithium-ion battery for it. Super great battery, super great trolling motor. One thing I'd change is I would get a trolling motor with a longer shaft. Mine's 72 inches. I have a pretty low bow, but when you get into 2-footers and whatnot, my general rule of thumb is if it's 2-footers, I'm hardly going to feel that bite in the first place, even if I'm on a wreck or something. And I definitely don't want to be fishing up against any kind of structure in 2 to 3 foot seas.
Right.
But my trolling motor really doesn't like it when it's 2 to 3 foot either. It'll hop out the water, and I could go for an 87, but I'm content with my 72 for the fact that I really only want to be bottom fishing when we can feel that bite.
Right.
And when it's calmer out, under 1-footers.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I mean, even on my boat, that old Mako with the, 8.6 beam, it can get a little topsy-turvy when you got, 3 guys up in the tower. But then again, it's like, do we really want to be fishing when it's these conditions? And the answer is no. So, I like you.
Only
it's
when
like,
we have to.
Yeah, exactly. Only when we must. It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. Well, that's cool. And on those togs, I mean, I liked hearing you talking about all the different places you target and how quickly that you move if the bite's not happening. What are you using for what's your kind of tackle of choice, your setup of choice, bait of choice when you're targeting these things?
Yeah, I mean, I always go out rigged up with my 2500s and my 4000 size reels,
Mm-hmm.
15, 20-pound braid, keeping it light and simple. I think I'm running a 40-pound mono leader, just something a little more abrasion resistant because you are fishing structure, and
Right.
no rhyme or reason to it. You know, I move around a lot and I see where I'm getting my bites and what I want to do as far as location goes. And we're really using dropper rigs out there, which is just a homemade bottom rig. It's just a piece of mono leader with 2 knots in it, 2 overhand knots basically. One goes to your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ounce sinker, and one goes to a 2, 3, 4 J hook, and then put you a piece of quartered up, cut up blue crab or fiddler crab or sand flea or what have you not. I think even shrimp works pretty daggone good. I mean, when you get on a fired up bite, there's not much those fish won't eat, but they definitely can be picky at times. So we try and bring an array of baits with us, and
Just to be ready.
the reason for the dropper loop is just dealing with that current. You never know if it's going to be ripping or not ripping too bad, or, you know, and dropper loop's a good all around rig for it because you know you'll make it to the bottom.
For sure. So I've got a couple questions for you. Going back in time in your mind to the tog fishing trip where it was really good for several hours versus the one where it was only good for that short window when the tide changed. How long ago was the really good trip?
They were exactly 7 days apart. It was the same day, but the next week I went the same day.
Okay.
So I
Do
don't
you-
know. It may have had to do with the moon phase. It may have had to do with just how the tide was running those particular times, but it was definitely a more moderate tide the first trip. And then the second trip, it was really, really running. Then it was slack. Then it slowly turned for 30 minutes or an hour. And then it was really, really running again.
Interesting. Yeah, I would be curious to go on Hilton's real-time navigator. They've got the servers that keep all the backlogs of all the previous days' history and all the details. It would be fun to go back and kind of unpack those 2 days in the areas that you were fishing and just find out, like, was there something going on in the water's temperatures on the surface? Was there a difference in the moon phase? Was there a difference in um, you know, chlorophyll? I mean, who knows? Like, just to really see if there's anything that really stands out as like a remarkable difference in those 2 days. So another day when I've got some time, I'll get you to text me the exact 2 dates, and I'm gonna go look up in Hilton's Real Time Navigator and find out if there was anything. We don't have to talk about it on the show, but you could text me like the spots that you were at or the general area, and I'll just kind of like look at those
Yeah.
two together. It'd be fun to just kind of unpack that and see if anything shows up that's worth noting, or if we can just call it a massive, fluke, so to speak, in terms of
Yeah.
why one day is great and the other's not. But that's part of learning, and part of the fun of, having all this great technology that we have now is we can, look back at those days when it was really great, on Hilton's and be like, oh, that was interesting. It was this particular moon phase. I did that over the winter with the tuna fishing when we would have bites on different days. I'd go back and look, and it was like, oh, there's a little consistency here with what the moon phase is, and these other couple of data points that I learned just by going and being curious. So now let's go a little bit further inshore. So you guys were down in Carolina. You whacked the tunas, got that one choice Mahi. Hopefully it was the biggest of the three. Uh, you've had a couple of good tog trips. Talk to us about these redfish, man. What's been going on with those?
Yeah, the drum fishing's still been great in the bay. We've had a lot of puppy drums start to show up. So, we're fishing against the marsh grasses around for those. And pups are showing up, slot fish that we can keep and eat. That's picked up tremendously in the last 2 weeks. And we still got some big drum around in the bay. And seems like more and more starting to show up, especially now that everything's starting to migrate from Carolina. We're getting some more red drum in the bay, some more black drum, and hopefully our first few cobia is starting to trickle in here in the next few days or weeks.
Absolutely. I know I'm gonna hunt him down and get a report one way or the other, but I know Captain Jack on King Tide. They went out today and found a couple of cobias. We don't know where, but it was cool to see that a few were biting
Just say
somewhere.
they went pretty far south for those fish. I actually just talked to them on my way home from North Carolina earlier.
I kind of figured as much. I was like, man, they must have just put the hammer down and kept going because it looked like some pretty blue water. But that's a great sign, if they had to go past False Cape or the state border, that was definitely pushing the limits on chasing them down. But it's great to know that they're on their way.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun summer ahead. I'm excited. The redfish that you're catching right now, you mentioned that there's some slots. You're getting into some of the bull reds. Is that happening in like similar areas, or are you kind of picking your trips whether they want to target slot fish that they can harvest and keep, or they just want to go, tug on a giant? I see a picture of Dave Walden holding looks like about a 45 incher, big old smile on his face. Were you guys seeing just that class of fish in that area, or are you getting a mixed bag?
I would say we're kind of separated as far as size goes. I mean, yeah, they're probably within a few miles of each other, but red drums seem to be a schooling fish really based on size. They seem to hit that, I want to say 35-inch range, and then they move up to being with those grown full adult, citation size and large size drum. Every now and then you'll catch one 30, 32, 33, 35 inches inshore fishing, like against the marsh grasses and whatnot. But for the most part, all those fish are ranging 14 to 30 inches. And they're showing up. Some years it seems a little earlier, some years a little later. This year it was definitely a little later. The big ones got here 2 or 3 weeks before the little ones really showed up in full force. But now the little ones are starting to show up in full force and really creates for a good day. The best way I describe it to people is if we do a 4-hour trip, we're probably only going to target one or the other. And if we do a 6 or 8-hour trip, that'll give us the flexibility to target both of them for tidal reasons and just for time of fishing reasons.
Yeah, if you get into a school of the larger ones, I mean, on average, how long would you say that keeps folks' interest? Like if you're in a good school of them where you're kind of, all you can eat in terms of just catching them, pulling on them, at what number on the counter do you typically see folks either get worn out, like physically, or just ready to move on to something else?
I'd say it depends on the clientele. It depends on who you got fishing. But I can tell you from personal experience for myself, I'm about a 3, 4, 5 fish a person guy. It gets pretty tiring after that third, fourth, or fifth one. If you're lucky enough to have a day where you can have 4 clients on board and catch them 2, 3, 4, 5 fish a person, you're catching 10, 16, 20 fish. I mean, that's a pretty incredible day of inshore drum fishing.
Yeah.
It does happen. We are blessed to have an amazing fishery around here and, all the way throughout the summer, getting them out in the ocean and by the bridge tunnel. And you really never know where a school of red drum's going to pop up in the Chesapeake Bay. It can be anywhere, any time of the year, once they get here before they leave.
I'll tell you exactly I'll tell you
say-
exactly where they are. It's when you see 30 boats within, 10 yards of each other.
That's a pretty good giveaway. Yeah, that's a pretty good giveaway.
Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh, that was it.
Oh,
Nothing crazy.
Gotcha.
It definitely is just that 2, 3, 4 fish a person thing seems to be the ticket. And then sometimes people will be like, man, we really want to change it up and get something we can eat because they're great and all, but we can't eat them. We can't keep them. We get some great pictures. You're lucky, you catch one over 46 inches and you get a wall plaque for a citation. And there's some cool stuff with them, but it's also cool to go on an expensive fishing trip and bring home some dinner. So a lot of times people want to change it up after a little while.
Yeah, I totally get that. You want to have something that you can enjoy a picture of and then something you can enjoy on your dinner plate. And there's something special about a giant red drum too. I mean, obviously you see them all the time. I've seen them from time to time, but like if you really think about it, I mean, they're a remarkable fish. I mean, they're built like tanks. They've got scales that are, rock hard, that big old beat that they make from deep within their chest. And then there's, huge mouths and those sharp razor teeth that are just inside that gum line. I mean, they're really a magnificent creature. And it's incredible to think about the fact that they go from these, little teeny puppy drum and then turn into these 50, 60 pounders, whereas like other fish just kind of stop growing at a certain size. So it'd be interesting to see like, what happens, do they reach that certain size and then just kind of stay there until they eventually just die? Or is there a chance that we've got some of these things swimming around that are, 70, 80 pounds?
Yeah, definitely is. Hold up. You kind of broke out there for a second. Did you ask a question right there at the end?
Yeah, I was just curious if you think that they can get, upwards of, 60, 70, 80 pounds if they have, or do they all
Oh,
kind of
oh, oh, oh.
consistently stop growing at that certain point? Because they grow so much going from that little puppy drum on up to, these big, 45,
Yeah.
50-inch fish. Do you think they get much bigger than that, or do they just kind of hit that same threshold and stop growing?
You know, I don't know. I feel like a drum from the people I've talked to and the things I've learned about them. I feel like each and every drum has its own cap. I'm not sure if they all become. I don't personally believe that every single one of them is destined to become a giant. I think the
Ah,
biggest drum I've probably ever caught is within that 55 to 60 pound range. I mean, I've never put one on a scale before, but just guesstimating, I don't think I've ever caught one over 60 pounds by any means. I've caught some giants, some 52, 53-inch hammers, but I've never thrown a scale on one. I've never even
mm-hmm,
thought to, actually. I just look at the length of them, and at a glance, you're looking at a fish that big, and it's 40 to 50 some pounds, and
mm-hmm.
that seems to be all that matters to me. Not the little nitpicking kind of ounce here or pound here thing. So I've
Right.
never thrown a scale on one, but I am a firm believer that they might be similar to, well, I don't know. I guess people don't reach a cap, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel
Well,
like some are destined to be that 40-pound, 40-incher, and some maybe just stay around longer, eat more, have better genetics, and get bigger. But do you know the world record? I don't know it. I mean, maybe 70, 80 pounds or so.
I'm gonna look it up now. World record red drum. Take a guess off the top of your head. What do you
I mean,
think it
I'm
is?
sure it'll be something obnoxious like 90 pounds.
You're very close. And it was actually caught in Avon, North Carolina. But get this, November the 7th. Take a guess at the year.
1985.
Did you really just pull that out of thin air? It was
Yeah, that
1984.
was a random guess. Why?
1984. You're only off by 1 year. So,
Really?
yeah, so for almost 41 years, that record has stood. Tired of battling salt corrosion on your boat, trailer, and reels? Meet Salt's Gone, your ultimate solution. This powerful, instantly acting chelating agent tackles salt and brine with ease, featuring corrosion inhibitors to protect against future damage and surfactants for a thorough clean. Salt's Gone is pH neutral, making it safe for all boat materials metal, glass, paint, vinyl wraps, and more. Highly concentrated, just 1 gallon creates 100 gallons of ready to use solution. Apply it with or without running water. It's perfect for any situation. Use code GreatDays10 to save 10% at saltsgone.com. Or if you need faster delivery, use Amazon or your favorite retailer. So that kind of answers our question about some genetics and whatever else, they have the potential to get close to 100 pounds. That's remarkable. It
Well,
was
and another thing to bring up is, could they keep them back then? Because there could be a reason no one's ever weighed one in bigger than that, is because no one can
Oh,
kill
you're
them
right.
anywhere around here.
You're right. That's a great point. Yeah.
Not,
That's
I can honestly and wholeheartedly say I've never caught an 80-pound red drum. I really think the biggest I've caught is probably 55 or 60 pounds, and that's like the fattest of the fattest 52-incher I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree that I can't say a weight guess, but the longest red drum I ever caught was 57 inches. And I mean, I could barely hold it up. But I mean, it's just like you're talking about the genetics. Like some of them just have gigantic shoulders on them and, huge heads. Others are a little skinnier. It just depends. But I mean, the thought of red drum pull hard. So the thought of a 94 pounder, that had to have been a
Was
gnarly
that
fight.
was that what the world record was? 94 pounds in 1984.
Yeah, November 7th, 1984, the David
Wow.
Duell set the IGFA all tackle and men's 50-pound line class world record with a massive red drum from the surf in Avon, North Carolina. Hit a cut mullet, 94 pounds, 2 ounces. 57
That's
inches
insane.
long, 57 inches long, but with a 38-inch girth. That's a barrel.
Good God.
It's a barrel.
That's
Considering
the
that,
length of a normal one.
yeah, that's crazy, man. That is absolutely wild. Who would have thought we ended up on world record red drum? But that was still fun to learn. It's kind of like reminds me of when we chatted with Susanna Music from the VMRC. Just learning different scientific things about fish. It just sometimes blows your mind. Like tog, for example. I don't know if you heard that episode or not a while back, but the longest tag that was out and then harvested was a tog, and it was tagged on a specific wreck out at the triangles. And 7 years in, it was caught and released at that same wreck. And then at the 10-year mark, it was caught and harvested still at that same wreck.
Wow.
It's interesting how
I did not hear that, but that is interesting. I've always heard once they find somewhere, they live there for a very, very, very long time.
yeah, I was like, when she told me that, I was like, that is wild just to think that they've got so much opportunity to go anywhere they want, and they just stay right there. So it does make you
Yeah.
wonder. But I'm sure, he was probably, very comfortable, had built himself a nice, wraparound porch, big yard, and just had no reason to go anywhere.
I'm sure.
At any rate. Well, Captain Cole, it's always great to catch up with you and get to hear what you're doing. You've got that, variety of boats. So it's, one day you might be going inshore and catching a couple of fish in the river. Next day you're out there in 2,000 feet of water. So we always appreciate you taking a minute to, take a break from fixing oil leaks and chat with us about what you've been catching, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Love being on the show. Love talking to you, Luke.
Likewise, man. I'm excited for more reports to come. And if folks want to get up on one of your 3 boats and book a trip, what's the best way for them to contact Litigator and get booked?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook or Instagram, or you can reach out to my cell number, 757-345-9698. And that's for Litigator Sport Fishing.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it very much. Folks, stick around for a word from some of our great sponsors to hear a little bit from those making the show free for you each week, and we'll be back with you soon. Did you know every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack or stroke? In that moment, every second counts and every critical decision matters. Air Medcare Network's air ambulance providers can provide life-saving care directly to those in need at a moment's notice. With 320 locations across 38 states, they're the largest air ambulance membership network. Rest assured, they've got you and your entire household covered. Membership is just $99 a year or just $79 for seniors. Visit gdo.deals/airmedcare to enroll. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.